verging on the disrespectful. Those are the words of the Italian Prime Minister. His view of the pledge by EU neighbours to take in less than 24,000 of the hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers who by September will have landed on his nation's shores. Matteo Renzi threatening the continent with a plan B if the EU doesn't share more of the burden. That's not happening. On the contrary, French police forcing would-be migrants back into Italy in the Riviera border town of Ventimiglia. Public opinion on both sides of the border definitely not on the side of the migrants. It's not just Italy and Greece, Europe facing an unprecedented wave, so are other parts of the world. The accusations that Australia has paid smugglers to send boat people back to Indonesia highlights a global phenomenon, with this summer the planet facing the greatest uprooting of populations since World War II. Today in the France 24 debate, we're looking at Europe's shut-door policy when it comes to migrants. With us to talk about it, Catherine de Venden, Senior Research Fellow at the French National Research Institute, the CNRS.
Yes,
thank you.
Thank you for being with us.
Let's say hello to Claudio Borghi, who joins us from Milan. He is with Italy's anti-immigrant Northern League Party. Thank you for being with us. And we're also joined from London by a man whose roots are in Eritrea, Gaim Kibread, who teaches refugee studies at London's South Bank University. Welcome back to the show, sir.
Thank you.
The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, our hashtag F24debate. Let's begin with Ventimiglia, where a standoff between nearly 200 migrants and the French border police in its fourth day, the group refusing to turn around. The French Interior Minister, though, rejects the calls from their calls, as well as those of his Italian counterpart, who we'll see, by the way, Tuesday, face-to-face in Luxembourg.
Some migrants who have been sent back to Italy want to cross back. We are implementing the Schengen and Dublin rules.
So they will not cross?
No, because they should not cross. They must be taken care of by Italy. That's European law. There's no blockade of the frontier because we are in an open space. But it's about respect of the Schengen and Dublin rules at the Franco-Italian border.
All right, for more on this, let's cross to the French city of Menton, which is just the other side of the border of Ventimiglia, and say hello to Tamer Debouba, who's a Red Cross volunteer there. First of all, tell us what is the situation today at the border compared to the 3 previous days?
For the month, there is still like 100 of people coming from Sudan, Eritrea, and from Nigeria, and they are still here waiting that the French policemen let them cross the border. But not a lot of things changed since the last days.
And those people have been sleeping on the beach.
Yes, actually they are staying on the beach, and we are a little bit afraid now that the Ramadan, who is like coming in the next few days, will make like more problem about health for these people.
Tamer Debouba, you just heard the words of the French Interior Minister saying these are the rules of the European Union. What's your reaction?
For us, our job actually is not about thinking about what is the point of view of a side or another. For us, the fact is really what we want to help these people to. I mean, we want to take care of them. We are not focusing about the decision of the governments of Italy or from. Coming from other countries.
And Tamer, tell us, how have the locals responded on both sides, be it in Ventimiglia or where you are in Menton? How have they reacted to this?
You mean about
local citizens?
People,
local citizens.
Yeah, pretty well, because a lot of people are coming here in the border and giving a lot of food. We have a tent, and they are bringing like bottles of water or milk because they know that people from kind of countries drink a lot of that, and they are also bringing foods to help them. And some of them are really shocked by the fact that the border is still closed and don't let them out. But as they said, and as we are doing with the Red Cross, they want to take care of them and help them to stay alive until for the next days, because we are really afraid, as I told you before, that the Muslim month of Ramadan will make more problems and more victims of not eating and not drinking during all day long.
Tamer Debouba of the Red Cross Volunteer, many thanks for joining us just across the border from Ventimiglia in Menton. I want to get now the reaction of our panel. Catherine de Venden, listening to the situation there in that border town and to the words of the French Interior Minister.
Yeah. Normally the border is open because we are inside the Schengen system. But these people who arrived in Italy as the first European country should have asked for asylum seekers in Italy, because according to the Dublin European rules, they have to be examined as asylum seekers in the first country where they have arrived. But Italy, who has received a lot of newcomers during these last 2 years, does not put stick on their passport in order to let them go across other European borders, and France says no, because according to the Dublin regime, they should have been examined as asylum seekers in Italy. But most of these people don't want to stay in Italy because they don't know other nationals, and because they seem they will have another treatment as asylum seekers in Germany or Sweden or other Nordic European countries.
So it's a point of passage, and the French have been stopping them there.
Yes, it was the same during after the Arab revolutions of 2011, when France decided to block the Ventimiglia passage. It was during the Sarkozy period, and the European Commission gave right to France to close the border because it was a situation of emergency, like now.
Claudio Borghi, your thoughts on this? That on the one hand, the words of the Interior Minister saying they have to go back to Italy, and the Italians are saying no, you need to share the burden more.
Well, I know, because this is the maze that the Dublin Treaty put the Europe in, because. If you are a border country like Italy, then people arrives to you, then it takes a long time to find out whether you are a rightful asylum seeker or you are simply an economic migrant. And so at the end of the story, everyone stays here. But my party on my side says that France is fully right to do so. What we urge our government to do is to do the same. I mean, the problem is at the source. We don't block our border. The madness is simply to tell Africa that can freely come in.
But no one is saying that. No one is telling Africans.
If ever imagine that.
Hang on, Claudia. Nobody's saying that the Africans can freely come in. These are people who are shipping out on these makeshift boats and often perishing in the Mediterranean. They haven't been invited to Italy.
No, it's they simply enter the boat if they know that someone will come to the rescue. If ever, instead of finding a boat that gives a comfortable ferry service, they found a boat that make a tow service to the place where they start. No one starts.
So what are you saying? They shouldn't be rescued? Are you suggesting they shouldn't be rescued in the Mediterranean?
No, it's not. They should be rescued, but not brought to Italy. They have to be brought back where they started.
Gaim Kibraid, your thoughts on this?
You know, the Dublin... listen, the Dublin Treaty, when it was established, it was 1990. And the irregular alien, I mean the regular migrant coming in without any kind of visa, any kind of document, was a residual idea. In all the world, you enter a country if you have a visa, or if you have a credit card, or whatever. If you don't have nothing and you enter a territory, then it's a situation that should be avoided at all costs.
Gaim Gibraid, your thoughts?
Well, it's very sad to hear such views, such heartless politicians setting the agenda for migration. They are quite irresponsible, these small right-wing parties, but that's the price one has to pay living in a democratic society. The Dublin Convention actually has been overridden by the events that have been unfolding in 2014. Italy has been receiving hundreds of thousands of asylum seekers and migrants. And it is a common responsibility of the EU to share the burden. If I were in a position of decision-making, the first thing I would do would be, once these people come, to screen them, to distinguish between those who are fleeing due to poverty and those who are fleeing due to persecution. Over 60% of those arriving in Italy, Italian shores, are migrants who are fleeing because of poverty rather than due to persecution in their countries of origin. The EU countries, not only Italy, but all of them have a treaty responsibility to provide protection to those who are let down by their own states. And France to close the borders on the grounds that the Dublin Convention allows them to do so is quite outrageous. Italy has received so many migrants and asylum seekers, and it has reached a stage where it can no more cope with the burden. So there is an urgent need for the EU member states to share the burden. The coincidence of geography should not determine the responsibility of a state. And the responsibility of a state is not also determined or governed by numbers. It is by principles embodied in the 1951 Convention and in the other treaties that the EU governments are parties to. So Europe, the EU countries really need to rethink and take dramatic action to cope with the situation and alleviate the burden that has fallen upon Italy by virtue of geography. Unless the EU countries differentiate between migrants and asylum seekers, then the burden would be too overwhelming, and those who need protection will suffer in between. Right. That is the first thing that ought to be done. And France needs to open its border. Anyway, most of these people don't want to stay in France. I was in Calais, and the large majority are actually wanting to come to Britain in spite of all the obstacles, the abuse they suffer at the hands of the French police, or what you call them. So these people need to be accommodated. And if you look at the numbers of asylum seekers and look at it in the context of European capacity, they can very easily be absorbed if they genuinely engage in a meaningful dialogue and to develop a settlement project.
Claudio Borghi.
I mean, how can you say that? No, it's impossible to say that can be easily fixed, because we don't know when the flow will stop. let's imagine, simply for the guess of, discussion, for the sake of discussion, that there is half Africa that decided that it's more comfortable to come here. And, there are unrest in Africa. There has always been. I mean, for example, take Nigeria. In Nigeria, you have Boko Haram in the northeast, but the whole country is perfectly normal. So we can say that the Nigeria, that is 180 million people, can decide, because there is Boko Haram in one region, to come to Europe or come to Italy. If they decide to do so, how can we respond? I mean, it's irresponsible not to fix a maximum number that can be allowed in. And well, never, in any kind of a political discussion, there is always people dodging this question. The very question should be, what is the maximum number, the top capacity? That should be a limited number that Italy or France or the whole Europe, if we want, is able to accept. And once this number is reached, we find the second step, that is close the door.
Gaim Kibraid, this question of a pull factor has been raised. What is how do you avoid that, and how do you avoid people from coming over further?
The problem is, if there was a functioning state in Libya, one could establish processing camps in Libya, and one would allow those who are deserving protection to be moved to Europe. But Libya is in a state of chaos. You have seen how many Eritreans have been taken by the Islamists, by the Islamic State, and how many were killed before. And if you talk to the people who are arriving from Libya, they have harrowing stories to tell. They have been subjected to torture, they have been robbed, women have been tortured. And is this our friend from Italy, from the right-wing party in Italy, is he suggesting that these people should be returned to Libya? I agree with him. Those who are, firstly, his assumption that all Africans want to come to Europe is not right. It's only those who are suffering from poverty and those who are threatened by their governments that are fleeing. Those who come from Nigeria, in my view, should be returned to the safer parts of Nigeria. Those who come from Senegal have no reason to come because they have a functioning state. Those who are if you look at the people coming due to protection, the Somalis, and not all Somalis, those who come from Somaliland can enjoy protection in their own place of origin. The Eritreans, the Libyans, and some people coming from some parts of Somalia, these are the only ones among those coming to Italy who deserve to be protected. Right, the large majority are migrants.
All right, that
and
differentiation,
one should not lump together the two.
That differentiation between migrants and asylum seekers, of course, key to this discussion. Stay with us. There's much more to come on this subject when we return. This is the France 24 debate.